There are probably things in your home right now that don't look like a big deal, but quietly stress you out every single day. A bag you still need to return. A pile of papers you keep avoiding. A project you started months ago and never finished. Clothes that don't even fit your life anymore. And the weird part is, even when you're not actively thinking about them, they still sit in the background of your mind. I think that's why clutter can feel so exhausting sometimes. Not because the house is messy all the time, but because so many things around us feel unresolved. In this video, I want to talk about the kinds of clutter that secretly drain the most mental energy, and why getting rid of them can make your home feel lighter almost immediately. Because honestly, a lot of the stress in our homes doesn't come from giant messes. It comes from all the tiny, unfinished signals our brain keeps trying to manage every day. I think one of the biggest reasons clutter feels mentally exhausting is because so much of it represents unfinished decisions. Not just physical stuff, mental stuff, a package you still need to return, a bill you still need to deal with, a drawer you were supposed to organize weeks ago. And individually, none of these things seem that serious. But when your house is full of little reminders like that, your brain never fully relaxes. Because every time you walk past them, even for half a second, your brain registers, still need to handle that. Don't forget this. You're behind on this too. I think that's why some homes feel stressful even when they're not technically dirty. There's just too much unresolved visual information everywhere. And honestly, this is why random clutter can feel more overwhelming than bigger messes sometimes. At least with laundry or dishes, your brain understands the task. But random unfinished stuff creates ambiguity. You don't know where it belongs. You don't know what decision to make. So it just stays there, quietly draining energy every day. One thing that helped me a lot was realizing I didn't need to solve everything immediately. I just needed fewer open loops around me. So instead of leaving things scattered everywhere, I started containing them. One small basket for things that need action, one place for papers, one spot for returns or decisions I wasn't ready to make yet. And honestly, even that alone made my house feel calmer. Because clutter gets heavier when everything is competing for your attention at the same time. I also think some of the hardest things to declutter are the things tied to who we thought we were going to become. Not who we are now, who we imagined we'd be someday. That's why certain clutter feels strangely emotional even when it has no real value. Old hobby supplies, exercise equipment, books we planned to read, projects we were excited about for 2 weeks and never touched again. Because getting rid of those things can feel like giving up on a version of ourselves. And honestly, I think a lot of people keep clutter not because they love the item, but because they don't want to face the guilt attached to it, the money spent, the wasted potential, the idea that maybe I'll finally become that person later. But one thing I've realized is this: keeping the object usually doesn't bring the motivation back. Most of the time, it just keeps the guilt visible, and that's exhausting. Because your home slowly turns into a storage unit for unfinished identities. I think this is why decluttering can feel surprisingly emotional sometimes. You're not just sorting objects, you're sorting expectations, old goals, fantasy versions of your life. And honestly, I think there's a lot of freedom in admitting, this isn't me anymore, or maybe, this was never really me to begin with. Because once you stop trying to manage every possible version of yourself, your space starts feeling lighter very quickly, not emptier, just more honest. One thing I didn't understand for a long time is why certain areas of the house stressed me out instantly, even when they weren't that messy. And honestly, I think it's because our brains hate random unresolved piles. Counters covered in mixed items, papers mixed with chargers, returns mixed with receipts, random objects with no clear category. Your brain keeps trying to process all of it at once. What is this? Do I need it? Did I forget something? Where does this even go? And even if you're not consciously thinking those thoughts, your brain is still scanning the mess every time you walk by. That's why cluttered flat surfaces feel so mentally loud, not because the items are important, but because nothing feels contained. I think this is also why people often feel temporary relief after simply putting things into categories. Not even fully organizing, just categorizing. One bin for papers that need action, one basket for things you're undecided about, one container for returns. Because the moment your brain understands, okay, this has a place, the mental pressure drops immediately. And honestly, I think a lot of organizing advice becomes too complicated too fast. Most people don't need a perfectly labeled Pinterest system. They just need less visual chaos competing for attention all day long. Because when everything is scattered randomly, your home never fully feels restful. It feels like your brain is still on duty the entire time. I think one reason people stay overwhelmed for so long is because they believe they need to declutter perfectly for it to count. Like if they can't finish the entire room, there's no point starting. So they wait for the perfect weekend, the perfect energy, the perfect motivation. And meanwhile, the clutter just keeps growing in the background. But honestly, some of the biggest changes in my home came from very small decisions repeated consistently. Throwing away expired products, reducing duplicates, clearing one shelf, letting go of one category that no longer matched my life. None of those moments felt dramatic at the time, but together they slowly changed how my house felt to live in. And I think that's important because social media often makes decluttering look extreme. Huge cleanouts, massive transformations, 10 trash bags leaving the house. But real-life decluttering usually looks much quieter than that. It's choosing to stop managing things that no longer support your life. It's noticing which items create friction instead of usefulness. And honestly, I think sustainable decluttering comes from making your home easier, little by little, not from trying to become a completely different person overnight. Because the goal isn't to win decluttering. The goal is to feel calmer walking through your own home. I think this is the part people don't expect when they start decluttering. The biggest change usually isn't the house itself, it's how much lighter everyday life starts to feel. Because when your home contains less unresolved stuff, less excess inventory, and less visual noise, your brain finally gets a chance to rest a little. You stop constantly searching for things. You stop cleaning around piles. You stop feeling guilty every time you open a closet or walk past a counter. And honestly, I think that's why decluttering can feel emotional in such a surprising way. Not because you suddenly own less, but because life starts feeling less heavy. Simple routines become easier. Laundry feels more manageable. Cleaning takes less energy. Tidying up no longer turns into a 2-hour project every single time. And maybe the biggest shift of all is this. You stop feeling like your house is always one step behind you, because clutter has a way of making people feel like they're constantly failing at keeping up. But sometimes the issue was never discipline. Sometimes there was just too much stuff competing for your attention all at once. And I think that's why reducing inventory changes so much mentally. Your home stops demanding so much from you. It starts supporting you instead. One decluttering rule that helped me a lot was paying attention to how fast a space resets after normal life happens. Because honestly, every house gets messy. That's normal. But some spaces recover quickly, and some feel impossible to get back under control. And usually, the difference is the amount of inventory in the space. For example, If your living room gets messy after one evening and takes 2 hours to reset, that's important information. If your kitchen constantly overflows after one meal, that's information too. I think a lot of us ignore this data and assume we just need to try harder. But sometimes the real problem is that the space contains more items than your current energy and routines can realistically support. Too many pillows to move. Too many products on the counter. Too many clothes packed into drawers. Too many things without easy homes. That's why I started asking myself a very simple question. How quickly can this space return to normal after everyday life happens? Because a functional home shouldn't require huge amounts of effort just to maintain basic order. And honestly, once I started decluttering based on reset speed instead of appearance, I made much better decisions. I stopped keeping things just because they looked nice in theory. I started paying attention to whether they made daily life easier or heavier. One mindset shift that helped me declutter a lot faster was realizing how many things I was storing for maximum capacity instead of normal life. Huge stacks of extra toiletries, way too many backup groceries. Closets packed for every possible what if. Storage bins filled for emergencies that never actually happen. And honestly, keeping all of that takes a surprising amount of space and mental energy. Because the more excess you store, the harder everything becomes to access, clean, rotate, and manage. I think a lot of us were taught that being prepared means keeping large amounts of everything. But there's a difference between being prepared and turning your house into long-term storage. One thing I started asking myself was, if stores still existed tomorrow, how much of this would I realistically need at one time? That question changed a lot for me, because most of the time, I didn't need 5 backups. I needed 1 in use and maybe 1 replacement. And once I reduced all the just-in-case overflow, everyday spaces instantly became easier to maintain. Cabinets closed easier, counters stayed clearer, drawers stopped feeling packed and stressful, and honestly, I think many homes feel overwhelming simply because we're trying to store too much life ahead of time. I really think a lot of us are more mentally exhausted by our homes than we realize. Not because our homes are terrible, not because we're lazy, but because we're carrying around too many unfinished decisions, too much excess inventory, and too many things that no longer fit our actual life. And after a while, that constant background pressure adds up. So if your home has been feeling strangely heavy lately, maybe don't start by organizing more. Maybe start by asking, what in this house is quietly draining my energy every single day? Because sometimes the most life-changing things to declutter aren't the biggest items. They're the things constantly asking your brain for attention. And honestly, once those things start leaving your space, life feels lighter, surprisingly fast. Not perfect, not magically easy, just calmer, more manageable, more breathable. And I think that's what most of us are really looking for in the first place.